Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're all about the positive vibes here on the show. I've got a very special guest. He is the son of promoter Cowboy Bill Watts. He's worked in numerous different companies, and I'm so fortunate to have him with me today. I'm talking about the one and only Erik Watts. Erik, welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
How you doing, brother?
Doing fine. How are you doing?
Man, so good. Every day blessed. Every day I'm blessed. It's funny you said, sticking on the positive. I don't know if you've seen the I think it's on Netflix, Positively page, DDP talking about his life. And matter of fact, off of that, one of my companies that I have is a merchant processing company, for people that take credit cards for payments.
Yes.
And the name of my processing company is Positively Processing.
That's hilarious.
Always trying to keep it positive.
Absolutely. That's what you can do. You were born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tell me about your childhood and upbringing.
That's a tough one, right? In a short time, because my upbringing was, now I know my upbringing was very abnormal. When you're brought up in a environment that you are just used to, then you think it's what you're used to. But as you do podcasts, as you talk to people, they're like, no, that's not normal. Because we went from everything from, we started with a house that was like, 2,500 square feet. And then as we were succeeding, or as my father and my mother were succeeding, the house ends up being 10, 11,000 square feet. Then, a 3,500 square foot gym and dog kennels that we needed for our trainers, because our trainers trained our attack dogs and the Oklahoma City police and Tulsa police attack dogs. And we had a racquetball court, and our house had floodlights so that if someone tripped, and double iron gates. And we there towards the end, we had 24-hour police security because we had bomb threats and things sent to the mail. House shot up. Sometimes people would try to run us off on the way to school, or check my, one time try to check my little sister out of class to abduct her for ransom. So it goes from everything from an unbelievable story about how my mother and her family escaped after Russia took over their country and lived in deportation camps for 7 years in Germany, to being brought over by a church in Oklahoma City, to my father, being a big pro wrestler. So we had a very ultra mixed raising, with very open mind, open ideas, seeing the world, understanding the different types of languages and cultures. Our father is not just one of the biggest promoters and pro wrestlers, but he's also known as one of the street enforcers, for, getting in a fight. Never wanted to have a bad word with him. And very boisterous and an incredible entrepreneur. So that is a nutshell of a part of what it was like to be around in my house. My mother had made a deal with my father. When my father went to go play pro football, yes, he played at University of Oklahoma, but he went and played pro football without graduating with a degree from college. My mother did not go to college. My mother, speaks 13 languages. She's got a pretty good accent out there in Oklahoma. And she ends up going to New York out of high school modeling. That's actually how my mom and dad end up meeting again. My dad was wrestling Bruno Sammartino main event for Vince McMahon when it was WWF. And he was driving down, and one of the guys was with him. He goes, I used to date that chick. He saw her on a billboard. And the guy's like, no, you didn't. There's no way you dated that chick. And he got the name of the billboard company, which got the modeling agency, found out my mom was living in New York. They started dating again. And then, there's a history of that. The thing with pro wrestling is my mom had said, Bill, I don't want any of my kids stepping in the ring without a college degree. So now my brother Joel went to college, but then and he became doing producing and color commentary and all that. But so I wanted to go play pro football. And so that was my line. That's where I was going. I graduated with my first degree in 3 years. So once I was off, I said, "Hey, I want to get in the ring." I'd set up rings, I had sell t-shirts, security, lights,
Do everything you
run
can.
guys. I've done everything. But we were not allowed in the ring. Meaning we could put it up, we could do it. We ran in the ring a few times on some run-ins for my father and blah blah blah. But we did not overhear anyone talking about matches. Didn't know how to set up a match, didn't know any of that stuff, meaning not knowing. We didn't care, we had things going on. So I had said, "Hey, I want to do this." Jody Hamilton, a very good father, a friend of my father, the Masked Assassin, it just so happened that he had a training school outside of Atlanta. Jody said that I could come down and get in the ring due to he understood the story behind it. I went down there just to get in the ring to see what it was like, but I came full force. Like I wanted, Sarge, Buddy Lee Parker. I said, I want the full effect. I don't want kick gloves. I want it harder than anybody, blah, blah, or as hard as you can give it to me. So I worked out for 23 days. And then I was heading back to college, and Dusty Rhodes asked me to do a show on the way back to Louisville. I'm like, Dusty, I got my boots because I got boots to train in, but I don't have anything else. And he's like, "Well, you don't have anything?" I said, "Well, I got I think I got my leather jacket, and I can't remember what the hell I had." And he said, "Okay, just show up and wrestle in that." And so I did. And then he asked me to do another show and another show. And by the third show, Dusty said, "Hey, I know you're going back to finish your master's, but you need to be in Atlanta tomorrow." I go, "Why?" He goes, "I got a contract waiting on you. And your fourth match is going to be on Saturday Night Live WCW." So if you put that into perspective, I literally had been in the ring 27 times. 27. So when people kind of look at it, even me, I've got to go back and look at some of my matches because, coming from all the sports I came from, all the film study and watching everything that you do and don't do, it's called the eye in the sky never lies, meaning a video camera. So you might have thought you did good, or you might have thought you'd done bad, but you really don't know until you watch the film. Well, now I look back and everything was going very fast, but I now go back, and a lot of people go back and they're like, well, hold on a second. That was your first match, and you've only been in the ring 24 times in your period. I'm like, yeah. And then I did 300 and 12 days my first year right on the road, brother. When everyone else was like, what town and where are we going to, brother, I had my camera, videotaping it, studying the night before, but every day was a brand new flipping day. Like my nerves were going, my eyes were wide open every day of my wrestling career, because I was literally, I tell people the story, like Dustin Rhodes. I knew Dustin as a kid. And when I first got to WCW, Dustin had a lot of stress on him, and Dustin had been wrestling for quite some time. And Dustin's stress was like, people are never going to think of me as Dustin Rhodes. I'm always going to be trying to fill the shoes of Dusty Rhodes. And I looked at him and I said, "I am so sorry, bro, for you." And he goes, "What do you mean for me?" I go, "Why in the hell would you ever want to worry about filling the shoes of Dusty?" And they go, "Well, that's what people think." I said, "No, that's not what people have to think at all." I mean, first of all, I didn't come to fill the shoes of Cowboy Bill Watts or Hulk Hogan or anyone else. I came to step over their footprint and make a bigger footprint. Now, I didn't. I don't think, I was no Hulk Hogan. I don't think I was ever as big a name per se. Yes, based on the TV exposure, my name was out there upon millions upon millions upon millions of people, right? But legacy wise, right? But it was just like when I went to college football, I went to be the number 1 drafted quarterback, and I went to go win the Heisman Trophy, and I went to go win a national championship. Now listen, none of those 3 things happened, but I was going to go to Tampa Bay. I went and pro wrestled instead. I started for a Division I team. And so I tell my kids and I tell business people alike, the one thing that people mess up in this world is they set their goals too high, right? And so I want you to remember this, staying positive. Your attitude determines your altitude in life. So your attitude determines your altitude. So the more positive you are, the happier you are, the more and the further you go in life, period. And so I tell people all the time, I say, listen, I don't care whether you shoot for the stars, the moon, or a different planet. Because if you come up short, you're still a hell of a lot higher up and further than the people that were just shooting for the top of the trees.
And you definitely made it. You know, you had successful runs in several different companies, worked
Yep.
a laundry list of opponents. Who were some of your favorite people to wrestle against over the years?
That is a phenomenal question, and it should be a question that should come up in 2 seconds. However, in my career, I remember more because not only when I wrestled, I was taught, as soon as you're done wrestling, you need to be out, somewhere watching every match. And some of my favorite matches were watching other matches.
Really? Yeah.
And especially going to some of these territories. When I went to TNA, I didn't know 3 guys that wrestled there. I mean, like literally, I knew Raven, I knew Jerry Lynn, I knew Jeff Jarrett. I didn't know AJ Styles. I didn't know Abyss. I didn't know all those guys. Like, who are these guys? And I loved it when I first saw it. When I loved it, just like when I first went to ECW. Yeah, I watched a little bit of ECW, so Sandman and those guys I know. But when you got in the locker room, you're like, who are these guys? So passionate, willing to give up their lives every day. So some of my greatest look backs at opponents. Rick Rude and I did not get along, not because of me, because Rick just hated me until we had an altercation, and I had to take care of that. After that altercation, he then became a dear friend to me and one of the best mentors. It went from everyone wanting to go there to watch the match because they thought it would turn into a fight out there to me looking so forward to the matches because Rick came up to me and said, I just totally misjudged you, bro. And my hate for you had nothing to do for you. It had to do with my hate for your father. And he taught me so much. Or Arn Anderson, Arn Anderson, I don't know, you're young, so I don't know if you ever saw the parking lot situation in which we got into a confrontation in a parking lot, which later on, if I ever come back, I could tell you the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was a Dusty Rhodes deal.
Mm-hmm.
Police showed up. They weren't the police that were supposed to show up, so they thought it was legit. The guy that came out of the store was the store owner. I did not know that. No one told the store owner that we're doing this. So there's all kinds of stuff that made it really real. But that was Arn Anderson. He was doing an angle with me, and he needed a knee surgery. And he was the one that came up, from what I understand, and said, I love this kid. This kid is busting his butt. I got to go out. He does this STF thing. Let's do an idea where he takes me out. So then when I come back from my surgery, I can run the road with this kid, and we can sell out and we can do great things. And he gets to learn from me. I need time off anyway. And this kid's got so much heat in the locker room anyway, it'd be great. And so in that parking lot, because most of the time I would, be doing an STF. He actually said, hey, do the STF on, because Arn's such a genius, do STF on this leg, not this leg, because of the surgery. And I'm thinking that's how good he is, because no one would know what leg I put on or not, per se. No, some of the smart marks today would go gone back and looked at it and might have critiqued it. But now you can go back and look.
Let's switch gears and talk about the charity work that you've done outside of wrestling. What organizations have you partnered up with?
In general, let me say this. I've never been the one that says, like when I wrestled, the Make-A-Wish Foundation and any and everything that I could help, Red Cross, as far as a charity, that's the way we did it. But a lot of times that was because WCW or WWE or whoever controlled your schedule. So the few days, like I told you, my first year, I wrestled 307 days, and I think I did 312 matches because
Right.
there were some double ones, so it made it very difficult. And then for a period of time, I was doing a lot of celebrity golf tournaments, all around the idea of raising money. September 11th and firefighters and this and that was so amazing, and so much fun. Generally speaking, though, in my life today, most charitable things are, i.e., through contributions and or personal smaller companies or things around the Atlanta area, via a food pantry or something that a church is doing. We were just at a church this weekend, listening to some missionaries, and the whole how they started 40 years ago or whatever in the audience of that church, and how they did not expect to become missionaries, and all the things they go through in the country that they're in. And now they're stateside. I think they're like, early 70s. But to get a true glimpse in and listen to these missionaries and where your contributions go and don't go as far as that mission group, that's more how they're focused. Besides the fact that dadgum John Cena has done so much for Make-A-Wish Foundation, who wants to do it? That guy's set all the records in the world, right?
Yeah, I mean he's on top of the list right there.
Incredible. When I did the Make-A-Wish, it was one of the tougher ones for me, because a lot of times, going to like a children's hospital, Eggleston Children's Hospital, Shriners, or doing those things, all those can be very emotionally tough. Believe it or not, they can pull on you, especially when you're dealing with the kids. Because in your mind, you're like, out of anybody, why did these kids have to have hardships and things like that? It was brutal to watch the mothers and the fathers be torn, and the sisters and stuff like that. But literally, your mind goes to, but this person hasn't even had life yet, or opportunities of life. So that was difficult. But man, I'm telling you, on those ones where they would load kids, going to Disney, and they were the top of the top. Like, some of these people said, these kids could. Any of these kids could pass away at Disney, and you are just, so there, I will tell you, that one became very, like, I would say, hey, listen, use me to do any appearances and stuff like this, but to load the kids up on the way to Orlando, man, I'm not tough enough. These kids would look at me like, man, what's wrong with you? Because I'd be torn apart, man.
Wow.
Yeah, brutal. But I mean, understood. Everyone's got their callings, on doing things, and I loved all the time I had to give back, and I'm one of those people. The way I was raised, again, for my mother is, a lot of people talk to me and go, well, you don't seem like a celebrity, or you don't act like a celebrity, and I cannot speak to that. One, I've been around, I guess, celebrities and entertainers my whole life, and they all acted the way they're supposed to act, as far as the ones that work for my father, and the way I was taught from my father. I mean, I remember him taking me to a concert, Boxcar Willie, and this guy had like a whistle for a chain whistle and all that, and we would watch the concert, and then afterwards my dad would sit back and he goes, watch this, and that guy would not leave until he signed every autograph and every whistle that any person, whether they are buying it or not buying it, that's what he did. And because I mean, my dad, he was the #1 sales of Ticketmaster in 7 states. So pretty much every concert and everything that came in as a kid, if I had time and I could go, if I wasn't going to a college football or basketball or wrestling or whatever, I was doing it. So I got to see a lot of entertainers. But to me, people come up to me and say, but you're just so normal. I'm like, here's the issue. The way I was raised is that, and I want to say this I want to be very precise how I say this, because I have had people tell me, well, you know what? It makes me mad if this person acts that way, because without us fans, there would be no you. Now, they don't mean it directed towards me. Okay, they're just saying there'd be no you, and I understand that. I do understand that, because I say without the fans, there wouldn't be any celebrities. But I also want to let people know something. Without celebrities, there wouldn't be any fans. What are you going to cheer? If the world was just vanilla, what? Yeah, are you going to go to your local grocery store and say, you are the best bagger I've ever seen? Woo, right? If football was not shown on TV, if we did not have sports. So what I'm saying is, first of all, I don't think people just become, I think people have callings in their lives and platforms in their lives. Then they're being given a special platform. And that's the way my mother would talk to me. She would say, hey, I'm not sure why God chose your platform to be in entertainment, but I want you to know you are to use that platform to the best of his ability, not yours. And so it put it in perspective that I always walked around saying, I am thankful for this platform. Now, what can I do to serve it in a way of light and happiness, and humility? Because at any time, the person that gave me that platform could take that platform away from me. And let's say people that don't believe in anything, a higher power or religion. I'm not throwing religion, politics, or anything on anyone. I'm saying the way my mom raised me. Okay. But if you believed in nothing, that you live and you die and there's nothing afterwards, your body at any time can stop functioning. Right. I mean, this week alone, last week, one of my dear friends that I got into pro wrestling, Harold Ice Train Hogue, 56 years old. Me and DDP hang around and we're all around. His kids went to school with my kids. He lives 10 minutes from me. Passes away from a massive heart attack. Right. My girlfriend of 7 years gets a call 2 nights ago, and her niece's husband of I don't know how many years just turned 50, and the next day went out and shot himself in the head. I went to go donate platelets at Red Cross the other day, and someone hit me up on Facebook, and one of my good friends wife, and he said, pray for me. And she went in and her stomach hurt, and now they found that she's got progressive ovarian cancer that's in her liver and somewhere else. So at any time, no matter what you believe in or not, your body or whatever can give out or things stop. And so to respect where you're at and the time you have is the biggest thing. And if you're respecting life in general, you have to respect every other human, right? You just need to. Now, if people are disrespectful, that's one thing. So to me, I never, ever, ever have thought I am bigger, greater, more important than anybody. It's kind of like when I used to do a lot of motivational speaking, I used to say to people, when I first got to Atlanta, in Atlanta there was a billboard and Martin Luther King was on it. And he said, basically the billboard said something like, why do we live apart? We're all going to die together. and there's a saying, there is no religion and there is no racism in a foxhole during war. so if you're in a foxhole and you're fighting for your life and you got 4 U.S. soldiers, you don't care who's white, black, Jewish, green, or what their faith is. You're trying to stay alive. And so all those reflect the same thing. If people really take the time in this world to understand, appreciate that we're only here for a blink of an eye, then I believe that people would spend more time loving, caring, and nurturing other people and less time divided, because our dime here is special. And we need to make the most out of it. And you hear this all the time, but my mom used to say, are you living to live the best life, or are you living to leave a legacy in which others want to live that life? And that was very deep to me. And then when I started, me and Lex Luger and I and a few other people started getting together for a men's meeting, and some very influential people came. And I won't say, let me not say this, but a man that sets up accounting and law stuff for some billionaire business owners in Atlanta. So you could probably think about some of those that you see on TV. He was their consultant on this. And he was talking about the fact that when he sets up accounts and wills and all that, he calls it legacy building. And literally the way he sets up some of the legal structures is for so many generations down that they name the child X. Like they 4 generations down, these billionaires that have built Home Depot or Georgia Pacific or whatever they've built, that one of their generations, 1 generation down or 10 generations down, can't show up and be such a mess up that they ruin the whole legacy, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you sit and you talk to these financial wizards and these accountants and stuff, and you're thinking, think about this. These guys or these men and women that have built these companies want to make sure the companies are there for it. They positively, like Truett Cathy, Chick-fil-A. He wants Chick-fil-A to be around forever, and he does not ever want it open on Sunday, blah, 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 blah. But Truett Cathy himself, he lived his life that way, right? He lived that life, and that kind of reminds me of what my mom says. Are you living your life, your best life today, just to live it as your best life, or are you trying to leave a legacy that other people will want to live their life by too? Something like that, right? In that. So that's kind of what I'm about. And the only credit I can give is the fact that it's none of it's me. It's just, I was blessed to have a phenomenal upbringing with phenomenal parents. And I've been blessed to keep very, very good friends around. And I try to stay as connected in the real time and the world as possible. And always stay humble.
Well, I love to hear that. And you definitely have shared with me today a very powerful story. And I hope this podcast inspires someone to do good in their life as well. Erik, this has been great getting the chance to speak with you. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find you on social media?
Right. Okay. So it's hilarious. So we're revamping it. Okay. My daughter, I don't know, people that check me out on Facebook can see my son, my daughter. I'm very proud of them. My daughter is at the Naval Academy in her senior year. She's a cyber specialist. She's been chosen for the Marine Corps, which is awesome.
Congratulations.
She's very excited about that. I've got Twitter. I've got Instagram. Most of them are like Erik Watts official. Back in the day, you'd want to make your stuff like official this, but then I found out that when people Google, sometimes it doesn't sort them. So you want to put your name. I think my Facebook is still watts.erik. And my Erik is the K. Right now, because of Dallas Page, I'm turning my Facebook into a professional page. So that I can get out to more people. I'm trying not to do what they call the athletes page, which that's how you monetize with reels and all that. But then anyone can be a member. So I still have my, I've been maxed out at 5,000 people for a long time, but I'm still trying to get out to more people. So I would love anyone to hit me up, follow me on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, or X. But like I said, most of them are like Erik Watts official or watts.erik on Facebook. And that's kind of how to keep up with me. And it will evolve the next 3 to 6 months so that it's easier for people to find me.
Well, Erik, again, thank you so much. And you're more than welcome to come back.
You got it, my friend. Well, you know how to get a hold of me. If we need to do another one, let's do it. I had a great time. It felt like we were on here for like 2 minutes. So I really enjoyed it. You keep on doing you and keep spreading the word, man.
Will do. Thank you again.
Thank you.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.